Coney Island Chronicle, baby. Lakeview edition, you know what I mean? When I was a little youngin', coming down through this way. But my dad used to stay, let me see. Oh, that's Newport. East Line down there. He stayed on East Line. But this church right here, I had a little experience here with a young lady, you know, back in my youthful days. She came around here and took me around here, and you know, we got kind of a little frisky. And I always wondered, even to this day, how and who taught her to come to this church and go around there on that side and get frisky. Yeah, flipping all in front of this church and everything used to be the deal right here. Flipping like a mug as a youngin', coming up on Lakeview. There was a lot of thieves though down here. They used to break in people's houses a lot. That's kind of why we kind of left from down here, because for whatever reason our house became the magnet for the B&Es, and it kind of wore my mama out. Just every time we come in the houses, house was broke in. One time they broke in and ate the food and left stuff all on the dang on kitchen table and drunk the Kool-Aid and everything. Just out of control down here. I don't really recall too many guys down here getting no money though. But I do recall a lot of thieves. One time my family thought that somebody kidnapped me back in the day. And my dad stayed down here, him and his bodyguard, right here on this corner on East Line. Stayed here on this corner, and we stayed in there for a few years till the panic of people getting kidnapped, kids getting kidnapped was gone. Yep. Back then, they used to kidnap kids and shit and hold them for ransom. And I actually ran into a guy when I was locked up who was convicted of that shit. Kidnapping kids and killing them for the ransom money. Straight gangsters, crazy gangsters. Different type of mode. Yep. All these little corners, for the most part, I was on these mugs. As a kid, all the skating land, this was my route to skating land. The house right there on the corner, that was where my dad and me stayed at. Yep. This thing tripped out walking through the old neighborhood. I was a little dude. You know what I mean? Down here on Lakeview. All the little girls, hey, Tony. You know? When it was all innocent. When you didn't have no woes and you didn't really have no concerns about nothing. You ain't really know how life was gonna change up on you. You know? Will stayed right there on the corner of Lakeview. You know? We used to flip over there too. You know? Flipping like a mug back then was the thing. If you couldn't flip, you was really a nobody. Yep. This our alley. It used to be a guy here. I used to sell him right here on this. He stayed right here. He had a dang, what's the name of that car? I forget the name of that dang old car. But I used to sell him golf balls, cause for 50 cents, and all the newer ones was $1. So this Lakeview right here, and this is my old street, and I'm gonna walk down to my old house. You know, the old neighborhood. You know, back when I was out here, little dude, my Superman and Spider-Man pajamas, and my auntie Shirley had been and got me, you know. But we stayed right here, right in this house, right here. Golly, memories. Right here, buddy. Used to go down right here. And Parnell them stayed right there across the street. I think his sister moved right here in this house. Like this scene tripped out. I used to come out here and flip this street like a mug. It wasn't really no hustlers. And Tweety them stayed right there. And the little house over there behind me. Yeah, these was the good old days. Now it's all ready for demo. Not only is it blighted schools, it's blighted houses in Michigan. You know, we'll be back with some more Coney Island Chronicle, baby. Eastside, Detroit 313, Lakeview edition, you know? Lakeview, baby. Frankfurt, South Hamilton. I mean, back when I was a doo-wop, for real. Right here, boy, I'll be flipping like a mug. We'll stay here on this corner. We'll be flipping on his yard. You know what I'm saying? I see him now. He Dita dogs. You know? Time, boy. Detroit, baby. 313, Coney Island Chronicle, baby. Eastside, Lakeview, East Line, Newport. You know what I mean? All down through here. France, Frankfurt. I'm telling you. Summer everywhere on the east side of Detroit. I done been and walked around and roamed. You know? I just hate to see that everything's so condemned now. Everything messed all up. It's all naked out here. Beat all up. But this is what it was, baby. This was my stroll. You know, my little homegirl, she walked me down here. When we walking, I'm a young dude. She whipped her little panties over. Whoop, showed me a whole bunch of little hair. Talking about some she got 4 strings. I'm like, that's a lot of 4 strings. You want to see it some more? Why, certainly I do. You know, that's why you got to go check that Woman Pleaser book out. Amazon, Barnes Noble, Nook, Kindle, or get directly in touch with me and you can get you a signed one, autograph with the bookmarker. You know what I'm saying? Detroit 313 all day, baby. Coney Island Chronicle, man. Representing with your man Antonio. Eastside. Check in, tap in, like, comment, subscribe. Peace. She was, you wanna see? You wanna see? Yes, I would love to see. March me down here to this church and let me saw. 313, baby, in the D all day. Coney Island Chronicles, and we'll be back. Enjoy the good day. You know, positive thoughts, positive energy, positive people, and produce positive actions. Stay focused. Coney Island Chronicle, baby. Detroit 313. It's your main man, Antonio, out here in these streets.